raise your right hand. By raising your right hand, are you agreeing to listen to the evidence that is being shown and interpreted throughout our entire trial today? Do you agree to decide whether or not our defendants are guilty or not guilty of their criminal offenses? If you agree, please say, I do.
I do.
You may be seated. Hello, everybody. Today you'll be serving as my jury. Now, my name is Frances Shates, and throughout the week you may know me as a typical college student, majoring in environmental education and interpretation. But on Thursday nights, lucky for you, I am a local Stevens Point judge. I know, it's a little untypical. Now, today you'll be serving as my jury, and it's very important as a jury to listen to all of the evidence and the truth and the knowledge that I'll be giving you about each and every one of our criminals today. Okay? So, we have 4 different defendants that we'll be talking about. Each of them have 4 different crimes that they have been accused of. Child abandonment, burglary, destruction of property, and loitering. Now, these 4 types of criminal offenses are not taken lightly in the state of Wisconsin. I'm sure you all know. And so again, as my jury, it's so important for you to decide on if they're guilty or not of their charges. Now, before we get started, however, I want you to remember that oftentimes the natural springtime behaviors that animals portray can often be considered very frustrating by homeowners. Okay? Now, do what you will with that information as we dive into our first case. Now, our first case has to deal with child abandonment. All right. And what we'll be doing is we'll be walking around Schminkley Reserve to each 4 different locations that replicate this crime of the scene that happened out in Stevens Point, Wisconsin. And we chose Schminkley Reserve because obviously we can't travel around to Stevens Point and look at each of the actual crime scenes, and Schminkley is a perfect place that has all different locations that mimic the exact scenes of the crime. All right? Now, as we walk to our first spot, I want you to think about a time where you thought you were alone when in reality you weren't. Okay? So we'll take a short walk over here to my right. I'll grab my briefcase with all of my extra evidence in there, and you can follow me. Does anybody have any stories of a time where they could have sworn they were alone, and then they found out that someone was there, maybe watching them? Yeah, I see a head nod. Do you have a story you want to share?
I was deer hunting, and it's getting cold, but I felt like something was watching me, and I looked over my right shoulder, and what'd you know, it's Sasquatch.
Anyone else see Sasquatch around?
Oh, not Sasquatch. No.
Do you have another story you want to share?
We were hiking in California, and there was a rattlesnake below us that I didn't know about, and it was watching us.
It was awesome. Any other stories you want to share? In those situations, I have to think of something embarrassing. Like maybe I was like in my bathroom, I could have sworn no one's at home. I'm like rocking out to my favorite song, you know? And you like turn the corner and your brother's like in the fridge, like grabbing a snack. That's what I was thinking about. That's what I was thinking. So, like I mentioned, our first criminal today is Mrs. Wendy the White Cat. And like I said, she has been charged with child abandonment. Okay? And her children were found in a location similar to the one behind me here, in a prairie of tall grasses. And so, a homeowner has found her fawns lying in the grass, and they were so worried about these fawns, and so of course they called the cops. Now, the care that a mother white-tailed deer gives to her fawns is often considered subpar. So, my question to you is, has there ever been a time where maybe you felt like, you know, you had to leave a child alone for a little bit? You had a feeling you had to do that?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I heard oh yeah. Do you want to share what we were thinking? Maybe there's too much energy. You can't handle that right now, right? Or maybe in a time of distress, or do maybe they're injured and need to rush off to call 911, right? So, white-tailed deer, specifically our does, the female white-tailed deer, they give birth to their children in the springtime. And they have children that are called fawns. Typically they'll have between 1 to 4, but on average they'll have a set of twins. Now, this is Wendy the whitetail. She gave birth to 2 beautiful fawns. Beautiful, right? And so when a homeowner came across these fawns, they were just in despair, wondering why would a mother leave them alone like that, right? And so to help me really show to you why a mother white-tailed deer would have to leave her fawns alone, I'm going to ask for a volunteer. Anyone like to volunteer for me?
No.
Yes? All right, come on down. All right. So I'll have you stand over here in the middle. Now our volunteer today is going to be Mrs. Wendy Whitetail. All right? We're not going to, put handcuffs on you or anything, don't worry. But as Mrs. Wendy Whitetail, you are in charge of taking care of these 2 fawns, okay? Or these ones. All right, so these are your fawns. Now, as a mother, what you are going to do is you're going to give them food and shelter and warmth and love. You're going to teach them how to survive, right? And essentially what you're going to do is you're going to end up juggling all these responsibilities. So what I'll have you do is go ahead and juggle.
They're going to fall.
Oh,
Especially,
let's
especially
see.
in my mittens.
Okay. Oh, no. It's okay. It's okay. The cops aren't here today. Why? What happened here? What happened with Mrs. Wendy Whitetail?
Juggling is hard.
Juggling's hard, first off, correct. But as a mother, you're trying to do all these things, and sometimes you can drop the ball, right? Not do so well. Okay, especially in the early stages of motherhood, maybe you're really trying to figure it out. You just gave birth to these 2 babies, you're only planning for 1, and all of a sudden you got twins on your hands, right? So it can be a lot, can't it? That was tough. Okay, well, we'll give you another chance, because when I mentioned that all these responsibilities that mothers have, right, to give their children food and shelter and love and knowledge, not once did I mention what the mother needs. The mother needs to eat too, right? So, I see you took the mittens off. She's ready. This time, I'm going to have Mrs. Wendy Whitetail juggle the balls because, again, she still has all these responsibilities as a mother. But you also need to take care of yourself this time. So you're going to continue giving your children love and food and all of that good stuff. But then I need you to go and pick some berries, because deer love berries. So you're going to juggle, and you're going to bend down and then feed yourself as you're juggling. Can you handle it?
I think so.
Okay. I think you can too. You gotta continuously juggle.
Oh, while I'm
Oh,
juggling.
yes. The children are still there. Mom, I need food. Mom, I need shelter. Okay, very good. Let's give our volunteer a round of applause. Thank you. So, how did Mrs. Wendy Whitetail do when she had an extra responsibility of taking care of herself? Worse? And what? You want to explain why it was worse?
Well, because then when she's trying to take care of herself and the babies, it was harder. It was juggling.
Absolutely. So, as a mother, maybe you're really good at caring for your children, and then you forget, oh shoot, it's 9 o'clock and I haven't even eaten anything today, right? I'm sure some of you may have experienced that at some point. Or some days you're like, woo, okay, I need to eat some good stuff, I need to take care of myself, and then you're like, oh shoot, the children just fell off of the playset out back, It happens. Well, luckily for humans, we have opportunities where we can call a babysitter, we can drop the kids off at daycare, right? We have family members around us that we can depend on to just take the children away when we need the break. Well, for white-tailed deer, especially for Mrs. Wendy, we don't have this opportunity. the mother white-tailed deers, they are the only and sole caregiver to the fawns. The bucks, the dads, they're gone. They don't help anything, right? So, this is Wendy Whitetail. She intentionally left her children behind. And the homeowners, like, who had come across her fawns, they had no idea. Now, she intentionally left the fawns in an area like this, like I mentioned before. And we're going to explain a little bit why she would choose something like the area behind me. But before we dive into that, does anyone have any ideas of why an area of these tall grasses, why would she choose that location?
Hide them. They're gonna hide.
Nice and dry.
Nice and dry?
I don't know.
Okay. Awesome. Well, I'm going to ask for a volunteer.
To do what?
We have a volunteer in the crowd. Okay. So, our volunteer is going to be a predator. Do we know what a predator is? Okay, so a predator is an animal that eats other animals. Now, our predator is going to be a coyote today. All right? Behind me, I have placed a fawn in the grass. Can anyone see it? Can you see it, our predator? Predators use their eyes, right, to find their prey. They have really good eyesight. Do you see anything? No. Okay. So, we're going to have our coyote go on the prowl. All right, you're going to walk out into the grasses, and once she sees the fawn, she's going to let out a howl. Ow! Ow! Should we all practice? Ow! Ow! Awesome. All right, so go ahead, take a walk or a run. Okay, come back. Too far. Oh! I don't know what she found out there, but did you find something?
What?
Did you find something?
Did you find a fawn, Louise?
No.
Okay, you're looking for a fawn.
Come closer.
Louise.
Look at this tall grass right
Louise,
here.
come here. Look right in here. Go slow.
Look down on the ground.
Look down on the ground.
Step on it.
See anything? See anything?
No.
Sure.
Right there.
How old did you find it? How did you find it?
How old?
How old?
Go ahead and pick up your meal.
Oh, pick up your meal.
Oh!
Eat it.
Okay, I'll hold on to this now, okay? So, did anybody see this way back here?
No.
No. All right. Now, that is the first reason, okay, why a mother white-tailed deer would leave her fawns in an area like the one behind us. Because these natural grasses, they almost kind of match the coloring of maybe what a deer or fawn's fur may look like, right? And also those tall grasses, when the movement's high above and a fawn is lying below, right? It's really hard to see it, okay? Now, the second reasoning is, okay, has anyone ever harvested a deer and you went up to it, it kind of has that stink to it? Yeah. So, adult deer, they have a very, potent smell, and all predators like our coyotes can smell it very easily. Okay? Now, there's a myth out there that says that fawns have absolutely no smell. It's not true. They do have a smell, but it's not nearly as strong as the mothers. So, our fawns, they're very small, right? They do have white flecking on them, so imagine this is our baby. Okay? And a mother white-tailed deer is going to lie the children down into the grass behind us. And the mother is going to leave and take her stinky self away from them, right? And so if a predator were to come along and use their sense of smell, because they really depend on their smell as well as their eyesight, what they're going to do is have to choose, right? So either they're going to go towards the extremely strong scent, where they know something has to be walking, or they might choose to follow the very faint smell, where they're not quite sure if they pick up on the smell. Right? So let's ask our predator. If you were to smell freshly baked cookies, you know that they're there out in the woods, or you have a very, very slight smell of popcorn that you think might be out there, but you're not entirely sure. Which way would you go? Would you go towards the cookies or maybe popcorn that might be there?
Fresh baked cookies.
Fresh baked cookies. Absolutely. Everyone else go to fresh baked cookies? And that's what predators will do as well, right? So they're going to go for the mother. They're going to follow the mother's scent instead of the baby's scent, right? And the mother is older and able to protect herself from the predators, unlike her baby. Okay? So again, those are the two reasons why a mother white-tailed deer would intentionally leave her children behind, right? And she knows exactly where she placed them, and every couple of hours she'll go back and check on them, right? So when our homeowners came across these abandoned fawns, and they swear there's child abandonment happening, it's gonna be up to you to decide if it really was child abandonment or not. Okay? So I'm gonna leave all that information with you. You can process that, okay? So we're gonna head to our second case. All right. Now, our second case has to do with burglary. All right. A homeless male, a pile of logs, and a frustrated homeowner. Okay. So imagine who could possibly be our suspect as we walk to our second spot. Okay. And you can follow me. Just give me 1 second. Now, do we have any guesses of who our second criminal is today?
Raccoon.
A raccoon, a squirrel,
Beaver.
a beaver, okay.
Mouse.
A mouse,
Muskrat.
muskrat. Okay, all really great guesses. But it's actually Mr. Gary Gartersnake. Okay.
Who's Mr. Gary?
He looks terrifying, right? The obvious criminal. Okay, so homeless garter snakes, they often seek homes and shelter in the backyards of, eventually frustrated homeowners. Okay? Now, Mr. Gary Gartersnake, he was arrested on March 23rd, so a few days ago. We received a call around about 6 o'clock p.m. From a frantic homeowner. She was freaking out. There was someone who broke into her backyard and, busted into her garage and just taking over her house, basically, right? She was freaking out. And so, I do have the exact phone records of our responder and the frantic woman. And so, I'm going to keep things very unbiased on my side. And so, I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers to help me read what happened along the phone call. And I'm going to say I would like 2 volunteers, one that's going to really portray the calm 911 responder, and the other one is going to be the frantic homeowner, just to let everyone really experience what it was like. Do we have 2 volunteers? How about for the calm responder? Anyone want to read?
I will.
Oh, thank you.
I'm pretty calm.
Okay. And then our frantic homeowner. Who wants to do it?
This lady.
Come on down.
Aww. I can read.
All right. So let's all just really make sure you're really nice and loud so everyone can hear you.
Okay.
But let's listen to what happened in this phone call.
Hello, what is your emergency?
I need help! Please, please! Someone has broken into my home. Oh my gosh!
Ma'am, please remain calm. Can you give me any details about who has broken into your home?
Well, it's a male. I think he's about 3 feet long. He has no hands, no feet, and no legs. He's naked. Oh my gosh! You have him covering my eyes. He's dark. He's light brown. He has lines running down the length of his body.
Ma'am, how has he entered your home?
I think he's been living in this pile of wood in my backyard for the past 5 months. I went to go grab the firewood for my fireplace, and I lifted up this log, and there he was just staring at me. Just looking me right in the eyeballs. I screamed, and he slithered into my garage. So I need someone to remove him now. I need someone here ASAP.
Okay, ma'am. Please remain calm, and let's have you stay out of your garage. I'm going to send an officer right now to your home.
Let's get a round of applause. Thank you. Whew, I'm just sweating. The responder. I don't know how they managed to stay so calm. And so, shortly after, our officers did arrive on scene, and the woman was still very frantic. And again, explained what happened to the officer, and said that this male has been living in her backyard for months. Okay? And so our officer was like, all right, let's seek out who it is. And they ended up finding Gary the garter snake. And they brought him in for questioning. And I do have the records of one of Gary's interviews that we had with him, and trying to get his side of the story. Okay, so I'd like one more volunteer to read Gary.
I guess you're looking at me.
Anyone want to be reading as Gary? Anyone volunteer? You want to volunteer? Okay. Again, really just play the part.
I won't lie to you. I snuck into the woman's backyard on purpose. It was the last weekend of October. I was being chased by an owl that wanted to eat me. I slithered into the woman's backyard, and found the wood pile. I decided to hide inside. I promise I had no intention of causing any problems. I didn't even plan to stay in the wood pile for more than a few hours. But then the weather turned. The temperature dropped so quickly, I became very cold. My body went into brumation, and before I could leave, so I was stuck there. The woman found me shortly after my body came out of it, and I warmed up enough to move.
Thank you. Woo! Bringing me to tears with these acting. So, in Gary's interview, he mentioned brumation. Now, that might be a word that not many of us may have heard before. And so, to help you kind of understand what it is, let's talk about hibernation first. Are many of us more common with the word hibernation? Yeah, maybe many of us might wish we could go into hibernation, right? So, mammals or warm-blooded animals will, stock up on food, gain some weight, and then just sleep for the winter months, right? I know I did about 2 of the 3 things, but I don't know what y'all did. So, the brumation is the reptile version of hibernation. So, what reptiles are is they're cold-blooded, right? Which means that their body temperatures changes depending on how warm or cold it is outside. So, if the weather's really warm, like in the summertime, snakes are out slithering around, their bodies are really warm. But when it gets cold, like it is now, snakes' bodies are extremely cold as well, right? And so in the winter months, like maybe right now, even though it's spring, or a couple months ago when it's below freezing temperatures, what can a snake do to keep themselves from staying alive until summer or springtime? Or what can they do to keep themselves warm and protected? Any ideas? If you were a snake, where would you go, or what would you do?
Go south.
Find something out of the elements.
Underground.
Out of the elements, underground, go south, I heard.
Go in someone's garage.
Go in someone's garage? Absolutely. So oftentimes snakes try to find something called hibernacula. And so behind me, we have plenty of it. We have a bunch of logs piled up, right? And so snakes are able to climb into these areas, protect themselves from the outer elements, protect themselves from the wind. They're able to stay there, comforted and warm enough, right? Okay. So, unfortunately, when Gary the garter snake was being chased by that owl, it was just in that time where the weather was starting to change, right? So he was, found a log pile just to protect himself from the predator, the owl, and then all of a sudden his body, just like that, they're going to go into brumation. The weather changes, and they are incapable of moving. So what Gary the garter snake happened with him is that his body got really cold, and in the cold temperatures, snakes are unable to digest their food, right? They need warmth to digest their food. So he ended up not sleeping, but just staying very, very still for a few months, and he only was able to leave the log piles to go get water. Okay? So, now, it's kind of difficult to determine if Gary Garsnake is really guilty or not, depending on, the circumstances. He was chased into the woodpile by an owl, and his body just kind of said, "You're staying," right? He didn't really have a choice to leave. Okay? So I want you to kind of think about that, and think about it after you hear Gary's last comment that he made. So he said that garter snakes are actually a gardener's best friend. Now, why would he have said that? I thought it was a little strange. But, we talked to him a little bit longer afterwards, and he said that, oftentimes in the spring, gardeners, maybe like new gardeners like myself, I'm not very good, right? I don't really know what I'm doing. And my garden kind of looks like this. Really, really sad. Right? Things are dying, there's critters everywhere eating all my plants. It's just not good, right? And so what Gary was getting at is that having a garter snake in your backyard, specifically if you have a garden, your garden might end up looking like this. Because garter snakes like to eat all the other critters and insects that like to eat your plants. Okay? So, again, do what you will with that information. Okay? You can decide if a garter snake really is a burglar or not. Okay? Alright, so for our third stop, I want you to imagine a time where you were just craving something to eat. Alright? For me, it happens a lot, but just imagine that one time where you're like, I need to eat something right now, and whatever you did to do it, think about that, okay? Maybe you went way out of your way to go and really fulfill that craving. Okay? Alright, so I'm gonna grab my things, and we'll walk. Yes? Okay. What were you craving? Say it again? Oh, I've done that so many times. Yes, absolutely. Or sometimes, you're craving that quick trip chicken, and you're gonna drive all the way across Stevens Point to go get it, right? I've done that. Awesome.
That's who's dropping the chicken.
Yeah.
So, our third criminal today, he was craving some food as well, right? And he not only caused damage to this tree behind me here, but also to numerous homes in Stevens Point. Do you have any idea of who this criminal may be?
A woodpecker.
Affiliated woodpecker? Woodpecker? Awesome. So it is a woodpecker. Very good. Now, what happened with our woodpecker is there was a man. He was sitting at home on his couch watching TV, and all of a sudden he heard a really strange noise. And so it sounded a little something like this. And he was paused the show. And I thought, what was that? He slapped his wife. Wait, what is that? What's that noise? Neither of them knew. It just kept happening. Now, many of us may recognize the sound of a woodpecker drilling into a wood, or into trees, right? Maybe many of us have heard that. You would know instantly what it is. Well, maybe not all of us, right? And so, eventually, the homeowner just ignored it. Thought, don't know what it is, not gonna deal with it, I'm already comfortable in my chair, right? And then a little while later, he realized that he has to go bring out the garbage, okay? Because it's Tuesday night in Stevens Point, and that's the time you gotta bring out garbage. And so he got out of the couch, and he brought the garbage down, and he turned around and was walking back towards the house. He saw all of these holes in the side of his home. And so he called the police officers, and he said, listen, somebody is causing destruction to my property. He said, I am the best neighbor there is. Who would possibly do this to me, right? And so the police came out, they took photos of his home. It looks something like this. Just holes everywhere. It's such a beautiful home. Okay? And again, he thought, who would possibly do this to me, right? And so the police officer said, well, sir, do you have any idea of like who it possibly could be? Was anything strange happening the other night when this happened? And you know, the homeowner said, well, it was a pretty average night. And then dawned on him, well, wait, I heard this strange noise. And again, he explained it. It sounded something like this. And of course, luckily, our investigators are really good birders. And so they're like, oh, sir, it's a woodpecker. Absolutely. And so, again, they're like, well, we know it's a woodpecker, but which one, right? Or who is it? Okay? And so they said, well, we'll take down your information and we'll let you know if we get, you know, a lead on anybody. And so the homeowner went on his way, and so did the police officers. And then not even 2 days later, the police station received 3 more calls, again, of property destruction, with the same type of holes drilled into their siding, right? And by gathering all the information of witnesses and everyone hearing the sounds, the investigators were able to make a sketch of who it was. And the woodpecker was about 18 inches tall. He had black coat, a red cap, and white lines all along his face. And he had a really, really long pointed nose. And so, again, our birder investigators, they're able to tell us that it was William, the pileated woodpecker. Okay, so here he is. We finally got him. And so we were talking to him and investigating him and asking questions of why, sir, were you causing so much destruction to Stevens Point property owners, right? And he's explaining to us that, you know, right now in the springtime, there's not a lot of bugs or food for him to eat because woodpeckers are insectivores, so they only eat insects. Now, he's telling us that eventually he was flying around homes and there were like these really huge trees just outside of Schmeeckley Reserve, like massive trees. And we're like, well, that's really strange because there's just a bunch of houses on the outside of Schmeeckley Reserve. And he's like, no, it's a massive tree. So it was kind of difficult to tell him that it was actually a house, not a tree. But he said, but there's so much food inside these homes, right? In the walls of these houses. And so he was able to really carve into the homes and take food because he was just so hungry, right? He was struggling to find any food. Okay? And then we talked to him a little bit more and he said, listen, I'm just trying to start a family, you know, and as a woodpecker out here alone on days like this specifically, it can be tough to be alone, right? And so he said that woodpeckers, you know, they'll drill into houses to find food, and when they're drilling, they also can, you know, send messages out to other woodpeckers. Now, you know, many of us might, when we're kind of like flirting with other people, we might like put on some music or whatnot. So, you know, Mr. William, he said that woodpeckers will, you know, specifically drum to attract the females, kind of like this. You know, just drilling onto the house. Come on, ladies! Right? He's just really getting excited, you know? He just wants to start a family, right? Just like me, just like all of you. Yes, absolutely. So, of course, we're kind of like, all right, you know, like, thank you for sharing, first off. So, it was a little uncomfortable a little while, but, you know, and after a while, we're like, okay, well, we can't, you know, deny you a family. We understand that it's up to you to try and survive, to find food out here, outside of Schmeeckley Reserve, in areas where you can't find a lot in the winter and early spring seasons. And also, yeah, you do need a family, right? So, I guess, you know, it's up to you to decide on whether or not, you know, hungry woodpeckers are deserving of food, or if us homeowners should really be upset about them choosing our houses really big trees. Could we deny them of that? Okay. All right. So let's head to our fourth and final criminal today. And it might sting you a little bit because it's tough to decide if they are criminals or not. All right. So as we walk to our final station, I want you to think of a time where you are very unpleasantly surprised. Okay? All right. Our last criminal for today has been charged with loitering. Okay? And it is Queen Wilma the Wasp. Okay? Ooh, I see a lot of ooh. Wilma. Yeah? We have some, upfront emotions about wasps. Yeah, how do we feel about wasps? It's a lot of, ooh, no thanks.
I like it.
Yeah. You like them, okay. Well, hopefully many of you like them, maybe, or maybe not. But wasps, they often get a bad rap because they can surprise unsuspecting homeowners, right? When they're trying to find homes in their backyards. So, my question for you is, where have you found this? Have you found these anywhere? Maybe in and around your home? I see a lot of head nods. Where specifically have you found these?
Windowsills.
Windowsills? In the eaves? Absolutely, yeah. So maybe many of these different locations you have found them, maybe in some garbage cans, right? Maybe some birdhouses or bird feeders, right? Absolutely. Now, why would a wasp try and find a home in these locations? Let's talk about the garbage cans. Why would they choose a garbage can to live in?
Lots of food.
Lots of food. Absolutely. So bees and adult wasps, they crave sugar. All right. So they need sugar to eat. That's their main diet, right? And where do they find natural sugars?
Plants.
Plants, flowers, right? There's this thing called nectar in a flower. Tastes delicious, right? Bees and wasps love it. Okay. So bees often are, these high almighty kind of insects, right? They get like the go bees, right? Everyone kind of agrees with that all together because they're really great at what's called pollinating. Now flowers, they have nectar and they also have pollen, okay? But not many people know that wasps actually kind of help with pollination too, okay? So I'm going to ask for a few more volunteers. All right, there's no scripts for this one, all right, just some artistic, specialties. I didn't want to volunteer. I need 3 of you. I got 1. All right, we'll have 2 and then we'll have 3. Perfect, thank you. All right, so, you can come down if you want. 1 for you. 1 for you. 1 for you. All right. So, okay. So, I am going to have our volunteers draw a flower on their piece of paper. And I hear you want purple? Okay. Please. Go ahead and drop a flower. You want to choose the colors?
Sure. Pink. Go ahead.
How about you? Oh, all 3. Okay. All right, go ahead and draw a flower, a nice big one, so everyone can see. Beautiful. Ooh, we have some artists in here. Awesome.
Done.
So, perfect. Let's everyone go ahead and show the audience your beautiful creations. Oh, I love it. Love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
Round of applause, yeah, okay. So, we have our flowers here, right? And like I said, flowers have nectar and they also have pollen. And pollen is like this little, dust, right? So I'm gonna have you lay your flowers flat for me. And I'm gonna place some pollen on their flowers. Okay. Pollen there. All right, so there's the pollen and the flowers, and our honeybee here, nice and fluffy, right? You see a honeybee flying, you know it's a honeybee, right? They're nice, thick, okay? And we also have our wasp. So wasps, they're not nearly as fluffy at all. They're really not hairy. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have both of our wasps and our honeybees fly to each flower, drink up that sweet, sweet nectar, and then we'll see what happens with the pollen, okay? So I'm gonna have you lay flat. And we have our honeybee come around, and our wasp, and our honeybee come around, and our wasp, and our honeybee, and our wasp. Okay, so, it might be hard to tell from way up there, but what do we see on our wasp and our honeybee?
Pollen.
Way more pollen, but is there still some on here?
Yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, right? So there's way more on the cotton ball, which is our honeybee, because honeybees are excellent pollinators. I'll give them that. But wasps, they also do help a little bit. You know, and every little bit counts, right? Counts for something, okay? And so that's what Wilma, our wasp, or queen wasp, was telling us. She's like, we still do pollination, we help, right? Okay, so I'll take these from you and I'll have you go sit down, okay? Or stand up. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, when Wilma was arrested, she was just embarrassed and appalled. Like, why would a homeowner arrest me and my wasps, right? Why would they choose us as criminals? She said, we help too. You know, we're not the big and fancy honeybees, but we still do help out, right? Because the adults they do help pollinate. And the young baby wasps, they also help with, you know, fluctuating bug populations, like our flies and our spiders, because they love to eat meat and protein. And so our adult wasps, they'll go and they'll collect the other bugs, they'll eat them up, and then they'll regurgitate them, kind of puke them into the mouths of the babies. Sounds gross, but if we didn't have wasps, we'd have so many other bugs to deal with, like way more spiders than possible, right? And that's nothing that I want to deal with. But, again, Wilma the wasp, she did say that she was intentionally living in the garbage can of the homeowners that found her. They had found this really sweet sugary stuff in the bottom of the garbage can. We call it soda. They thought it was nectar. And so the homeowner was very frustrated that they would choose to live in her garbage can. Okay? And so you can decide on if their loitering in this garbage can is really worth a life sentence in jail. Okay? All right. So I would like you all to follow me back to the amphitheater where we can really decide on if our criminals are truly criminal or not. Okay? So let's kind of discuss our emotions that we have about our criminals today. Now, let's talk about Wendy the Whitetail. Can we accuse her of leaving her children in a place where she intentionally left them to be safe? Do we have any thoughts on that? Anyone want to share? Do we find that, you know, her choosing to leave her children there is a good thing? Yeah? Just some head nods, right? Or should she find another way to take care of her children? Should she find a babysitter? Okay. All right, so what we're going to do for each of our criminals is I'm going to have you close your eyes and I'll have you raise your hands. And then me and my assistants here, the photographers, are going to help me count who thinks that our criminals are guilty or not of their charges. Okay? So I'll have you close your eyes. And I'll have you raise your hand if you think that Wendy the Whitetail is guilty of child abandonment. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. I'm gonna wait for results till the end. And then our second criminal, Mr. Gary the Garter Snake. Now, is he truly a burglar for breaking into the, you know, stack of logs behind this woman's home under the circumstances that he was in, right? He was being chased by an owl, and his body went into brumation. A common thing that all reptiles have to do, and they can't really handle, move their bodies if they end up being into brumation. So think about that, okay? And then once you're ready, I'll have you close your eyes. And once your eyes are closed, I'll have you raise your hand if you think that Gary is a burglar and he is guilty of breaking into the home. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. And our third, Mr. William the Woodpecker, right, just trying to start a family. Can we deny him of that? Can we deny him of finding a family just by using our home as a way to flirt? Right, or to find food and survive throughout the springtime when there isn't a lot of bugs and insects around? Okay, so close your eyes again. And I'll have you raise your hand if you think that William, is guilty of destruction of property. Okay. All right, I'll have you open your eyes. And our fourth, Mrs. Wilma the Wasp, right? So she's living in an area where humans don't really like to spend time anyway, in the garbage can, right? So can she, accuse them of loitering around us? Okay. So I'll have you close your eyes one last time and raise your hand if you think that she's still guilty. Okay, go ahead and open your eyes. So, with all of your help, all of our defendants are not guilty of their charges, okay? They're not criminals, right? And so I'll leave you with today is that, the natural springtime behaviors that, our animals around us often portray can be frustrating as homeowners, right? What I would like you to remember is that as humans, as homeowners, it's our responsibility to take care of our homes before springtime arrives, right? What we can do is we can prepare our homes properly so that animals are not attracted to it, right? So our woodpeckers don't come and find us as a big tree, right? They can go find their families elsewhere, okay, right? So wasps, we can clean out our garbage cans so they're not attracted to the sugar inside, okay? So what I have for you is a little info sheet about how you can properly prepare your home before spring officially arrives, right? You still have some time, luckily, okay? So then, hopefully in turn, the wildlife will stay out of your backyards and they'll actually find a home here in Schmeeckley Reserve. Okay? Thank you all today. Court is adjourned.